Every human being stands at a crossroads every single day. One road is easy. It feels safe. It feels comfortable. The other road is uncertain. It demands effort. It demands patience. It demands courage. And yet, that second road is the one that leads to a meaningful life. Comfort gives us pleasure for a moment. Fulfillment gives us purpose for a lifetime. The tragedy is that we often confuse the two. We chase what feels good now and wonder later why life feels empty. Today we are going to talk about the choice that defines who you become, choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. There is a quiet conflict inside every human being between what feels easy and what feels meaningful. Comfort invites us to rest, to avoid risk, to stay where we are. Fulfillment invites us to grow, to stretch, to become something more than we were yesterday. One promises relief, the other promises purpose. And every day, through small and invisible choices, we decide which voice we listen to. Comfort is not the enemy. We all need rest. We all need safety. We all need moments of peace. But when comfort becomes our primary goal, it slowly replaces growth. It teaches us to avoid discomfort instead of learning from it. And over time, a life built on comfort begins to feel strangely empty. Not because it is painful, but because it lacks direction. Fulfillment is different. Fulfillment does not arrive quickly. It does not come wrapped in pleasure or convenience. It comes from doing something that matters even when it is difficult. It comes from staying committed when motivation fades. It comes from choosing what is right instead of what is easy. Short-term comfort asks one simple question: how do I feel right now? Long-term fulfillment asks a deeper one: who am I becoming? These questions shape very different lives. Comfort tells us to stay quiet instead of speaking the truth. Fulfillment tells us to speak with honesty even when our voice shakes. Comfort tells us to choose entertainment over discipline. Fulfillment tells us to choose purpose over distraction. Comfort says, you deserve this now. Fulfillment says, you will thank yourself later. Think about the moments in your life that truly mattered. Not the moments that were fun, but the moments that shaped you. The times when you learned something important. The times when you helped someone. The times when you faced fear and did not run away. None of those moments came from comfort. They came from courage. Growth has always been uncomfortable. Learning to walk meant falling. Learning to speak meant being misunderstood. Learning to lead means risking criticism. There is no meaningful progress without some form of struggle. And yet, modern life trains us to avoid struggle at all costs. We are taught to seek convenience, speed, and instant gratification. We live in a world that rewards shortcuts. Fast food, fast success, fast validation. But the human heart was not designed for fast fulfillment. It was designed for meaningful contribution. It was designed to belong to something bigger than itself. Fulfillment does not come from motivation. Motivation is emotional and temporary. Fulfillment comes from discipline, and discipline is a form of self-respect. It is the decision to show up even when feelings change. When excitement fades and comfort calls, discipline quietly reminds us who we said we wanted to become. Discipline is often misunderstood as punishment. But in reality, discipline is not about restriction. It is about direction. It is not about doing less of what we love, but doing more of what matters. Every act of discipline is a vote for our future self. Every moment of comfort is a vote for our present self. The life we live tomorrow is shaped by the votes we cast today. Delayed gratification is the ability to choose the future over the present. It is the courage to wait, to prepare, to build instead of consume. This is not a new idea. It is deeply human. Farmers plant seeds months before they harvest. Parents sacrifice sleep so their children can grow. Builders lay foundations long before a building is visible. Fulfillment works the same way. When we choose comfort, we consume. When we choose fulfillment, we create. Creation always requires patience. It requires belief in something that cannot yet be seen. That belief becomes identity. Identity is not what we say we are. It is what we practice every day. A person who says they value health but never exercises is not building the identity of a healthy person. A person who says they value honesty but avoids difficult conversations is not building the identity of an honest person. Identity is formed through habits, not intentions. Habits are the bridge between who we are and who we want to become. They are small, repeated behaviors that slowly change our character. Comfort creates habits of escape. Fulfillment creates habits of responsibility. One trains us to run from discomfort. The other trains us to face it. This is why long-term fulfillment requires structure. Not rigid rules, but supportive systems. Systems that make the right choice easier and the wrong choice harder. Leaders understand this deeply. They know that culture is not defined by words on a wall, but by behaviors that are rewarded or tolerated. Consider a leader who says, "We value trust, but rewards only results." People will learn that trust is optional. But a leader who chooses to listen, who admits mistakes, who shows consistency, teaches fulfillment through example. Their discipline becomes culture, their identity becomes direction. Leadership is not about being in charge. It is about choosing responsibility over comfort. It is about serving something larger than the self. That is delayed gratification in its purest form. Leaders often work when no one is watching. They make decisions that are unpopular in the short term, but beneficial in the long term. They accept discomfort today to protect others tomorrow. In everyday life, the same principle applies. A student who studies when friends are resting is choosing fulfillment. A worker who learns new skills instead of complaining is choosing fulfillment. A parent who listens instead of reacting is choosing fulfillment. These choices are not dramatic. They are daily. And they shape identity. The challenge is that discipline does not feel rewarding at first. The rewards of comfort are immediate. Entertainment gives instant pleasure. Avoidance gives instant relief. But the rewards of fulfillment arrive slowly. Confidence, self-respect, trust, meaning, these are earned, not given. Delayed gratification teaches us patience with ourselves. It teaches us that becoming someone better is a process, not a moment. And when we commit to that process, something powerful happens. We stop relying on external validation and start building internal integrity. Integrity is what happens when our actions match our values, even when no one is watching. It is choosing discipline in private so we can live with pride in public. That is the heart of long-term fulfillment. Look at people who inspire us most. They are not the ones who avoided hardship. They are the ones who embraced responsibility. They are the ones who built something meaningful through effort and time. Their stories are not about comfort. They are about commitment. We often admire their results but forget their routines. We celebrate the outcome but ignore the habits that made it possible. Fulfillment is hidden in the boring work, the early mornings, the late nights, the repeated failures, the quiet persistence. And here is the truth. Habits are not about willpower. They are about identity. When someone sees themselves as a learner, they study. When someone sees themselves as a leader, they serve. When someone sees themselves as responsible, they act responsibly. Change the identity, and the habits follow. This is why long-term fulfillment begins with a simple question. Who am I becoming? Not what do I want, but who do I want to be? Comfort asks what feels good. Fulfillment asks what feels right. Every habit is a small declaration of identity. Every disciplined action says, "This is who I am." Over time, those declarations become belief. And belief becomes behavior. Delayed gratification also teaches humility. It reminds us that growth takes time, that mastery is earned, that trust is built slowly. In a world obsessed with speed, fulfillment requires slowness. In a world obsessed with attention, fulfillment requires focus. The leaders who create lasting impact are not the ones chasing applause. They are the ones building people. They invest in relationships. They invest in learning. They invest in values. Their reward is not immediate popularity. Their reward is long-term influence. The same applies to personal life. Strong relationships are built through patience. Strong character is built through consistency. Strong purpose is built through service. These are not comfortable paths, but they are meaningful ones. Discipline is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming aligned. Aligned with what matters. Aligned with who we want to be. Aligned with the future we are trying to create. And when discipline becomes part of identity, comfort loses its power. Discomfort becomes information instead of fear. Challenges become teachers instead of threats. And the journey itself becomes fulfilling, not just the destination. Long-term fulfillment is not achieved by dramatic decisions. It is achieved by small, repeated acts of courage, by choosing patience over pleasure, by choosing growth over ease, by choosing character over convenience. In doing so, we slowly build a life that does not just feel good, but feels meaningful. A life shaped not by impulse, but by intention. A life guided not by comfort, but by purpose. Think about the moments in your life that truly mattered. Not the moments that were fun, but the moments that shaped you. The times when you learned something important. The times when you helped someone. The times when you faced fear and did not run away. None of those moments came from comfort. They came from courage. Growth has always been uncomfortable. Learning to walk meant falling. Learning to speak meant being misunderstood. Learning to lead means risking criticism. There is no meaningful progress without some form of struggle. And yet, modern life trains us to avoid struggle at all costs. We are taught to seek convenience, speed, and instant gratification. We live in a world that rewards shortcuts, fast food, fast success, fast validation. But the human heart was not designed for fast fulfillment. It was designed for meaningful contribution. It was designed to belong to something bigger than itself. Short-term comfort creates habits of avoidance. We avoid difficult conversations. We avoid responsibility. We avoid uncertainty. And in avoiding these things, we avoid becoming who we could be. Over time, this avoidance turns into regret. Not loud regret, but quiet regret. The kind that whispers, "I wonder what could have been." Long-term fulfillment, on the other hand, requires patience. It requires us to do small, boring, uncelebrated work day after day. It requires us to say no to what feels good now, so we can say yes to what matters later. This is not glamorous, this is not easy, but it is deeply human. Fulfillment comes from alignment between what we believe and how we live. When our actions match our values, we feel whole. When they don't, we feel conflicted. That conflict is often disguised as stress, anxiety, or dissatisfaction. But at its core, it is the discomfort of knowing we are capable of more. Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It is often a signal to grow. The gym is uncomfortable because muscles are changing. Honesty is uncomfortable because relationships are deepening. Responsibility is uncomfortable because character is forming. A meaningful life is not built in moments of comfort. It is built in moments of choice. Choosing to work when it would be easier to quit. Choosing to listen when it would be easier to judge. Choosing to prepare when it would be easier to procrastinate. These are not heroic acts. They are quiet ones. But they shape everything. The problem is that comfort is loud and fulfillment is quiet. Comfort shouts for attention. Fulfillment whispers. Comfort promises immediate reward. Fulfillment promises long-term meaning. And because we are human, we often listen to the louder voice. But fulfillment has something comfort never will. Depth. Depth of relationships. Depth of self-respect. Depth of purpose. Comfort may make life easier, but fulfillment makes life richer. When we choose fulfillment, we begin to live intentionally. We stop asking, "What will make me feel good today?" and start asking, "What will make my life better tomorrow?" This shift changes how we work, how we love, and how we lead. Fulfillment teaches us that sacrifice is not loss. It is investment. Time invested in learning becomes confidence. Effort invested in relationships becomes trust. Discipline invested in purpose becomes legacy. Comfort wants now. Fulfillment wants forever. The real danger of short-term comfort is not that it hurts us immediately. It is that it slowly trains us to shrink our dreams. We begin to want less, expect less, and risk less. Over time, we settle into lives that are safe but unremarkable. Fulfillment calls us to something greater. It reminds us that we are not here merely to survive but to contribute, not just to exist but to become. It invites us into responsibility, meaning, and connection. A life of fulfillment is not free from pain, but it is full of purpose. And purpose gives pain context. It gives struggle meaning. It gives sacrifice value. Choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort is not a single decision. It is a daily practice, a mindset, a way of living. It is choosing courage over convenience, values over impulses, and purpose over pleasure. And when we make that choice consistently, something remarkable happens. We stop running from discomfort and start learning from it. We stop chasing happiness and start building meaning. We stop living for today and start shaping tomorrow. That is the difference between a comfortable life and a fulfilled one. One feels good. The other feels true. Every human being stands at a crossroads every single day. One road is easy. It feels safe. It feels comfortable. The other road is uncertain. It demands effort. It demands patience. It demands courage. And yet, that second road is the one that leads to a meaningful life. Comfort gives us pleasure for a moment. Fulfillment gives us purpose for a lifetime. The tragedy is that we often confuse the two. We chase what feels good now and wonder later why life feels empty. Today, we are going to talk about the choice that defines who you become. choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort. A meaningful life is never built alone. Fulfillment is not something we achieve in isolation. It grows in the space between people, in the way we show up, in the way we listen, in the way we choose to care even when it is inconvenient. Short-term comfort often teaches us to withdraw, to protect ourselves, to avoid conflict, to seek ease over effort. But long-term fulfillment asks us to lean in, to stay present when things are uncomfortable, to invest in relationships that require patience and courage. Trust is the foundation of every lasting connection. Without trust, relationships become fragile. With trust, they become strong enough to carry purpose. Trust is not built through grand promises. It is built through small, repeated actions, keeping your word, showing up when it matters, listening without preparing a defense. These are not dramatic gestures, but they are transformational ones. When we choose fulfillment over comfort, we choose responsibility in relationships. We choose to repair instead of escape. We choose conversation instead of silence. We choose understanding instead of winning. Comfort says, leave when it is hard. Fulfillment says, stay and grow. This is true in families, friendships, and leadership. A leader who seeks comfort avoids difficult conversations. A leader who seeks fulfillment creates safety for others to speak. A leader who avoids conflict creates fear. A leader who handles conflict with respect creates trust. And trust changes everything. When people feel safe, they contribute more. They take responsibility. They care about the future. They stop thinking only about themselves and start thinking about the whole. Legacy is born from these choices. Not from status, not from money, not from titles. Legacy is created by how people feel because of us. Long after our achievements are forgotten, the way we made others feel remains. A fulfilled life is measured not by what we collected, but by what we contributed, by the people we helped grow, by the courage we gave to others, by the hope we left behind. Contribution requires sacrifice. It requires time. It requires attention. It requires humility. These are not comfortable things. They demand that we give something of ourselves. But this is where meaning lives, in service, in generosity, in choosing to make someone else's life better, even when there is no reward waiting for us. Fulfillment grows when we move from "what do I want" to "who do I serve?" This shift changes the direction of life. It turns survival into purpose. It turns work into impact. It turns relationships into responsibility. Every day we are given small opportunities to practice this, to speak kindly instead of sharply, to listen instead of rush, to help instead of ignore. These small actions shape character, and character shapes destiny. A meaningful legacy is not built through one heroic moment. It is built through daily behavior, through consistency, through presence, through the quiet decision to care. Comfort focuses on today. Fulfillment focuses on tomorrow. Comfort asks, how do I avoid pain? Fulfillment asks, how do I grow through it? Comfort builds walls. Fulfillment builds bridges. When we choose long-term fulfillment, we accept that life will not always be easy. There will be moments of doubt, moments of fatigue, moments of fear. But these moments are not signs of failure. They are signs of growth. Growth always feels uncomfortable before it feels rewarding. Responsibility always feels heavy before it feels meaningful. And service always feels costly before it feels powerful. The people who live fulfilled lives are not the ones who escaped hardship. They are the ones who transformed it into purpose. They are the ones who chose to learn instead of quit, to forgive instead of withdraw, to contribute instead of complain. And in doing so, they created something that lasted beyond themselves. Long-term fulfillment also requires forgiveness. Forgiving others, forgiving ourselves. Without forgiveness, we remain trapped in the past. Comfort holds on to resentment. Fulfillment releases it. Not because the pain did not matter, but because the future matters more. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is freedom. It is choosing peace over pride. It is choosing growth over blame. It is choosing connection over control. A fulfilled life is one where we allow ourselves to be human, to fail, to learn, to change, to try again. It is a life where we stop hiding behind perfection and start living with honesty. Daily actions are the language of fulfillment. Not big speeches, not dramatic declarations, but small choices. Showing up on time, speaking truth with kindness, keeping promises, respecting boundaries, being present. These habits seem ordinary, but they shape extraordinary lives. Fulfillment does not arrive suddenly. It accumulates, like interest, like roots growing underground before a tree appears. And one day we realize that the life we built has meaning, not because it is easy, but because it is aligned with our values. The world will always offer comfort, distraction, escape, shortcuts. But fulfillment asks us to stay awake, to stay aware, to stay responsible. In a culture that celebrates speed, fulfillment asks for patience. In a culture that celebrates image, fulfillment asks for integrity. In a culture that celebrates pleasure, fulfillment asks for purpose. Choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice, a way of living, a way of seeing the world. It means asking each day, will I choose what is easy or what is right? Will I choose what feels good now or what builds something lasting? Will I choose myself alone or something greater than myself? And when we choose fulfillment, something remarkable happens. We stop living in fear of discomfort. We start living in confidence of purpose. We stop chasing happiness. We start creating meaning. Because at the end of life, comfort will not ask if we were brave. Fulfillment will. People will not remember how relaxed we were. They will remember how present we were. They will remember whether they could trust us, whether they could rely on us, whether they felt safe with us. This is the measure of a meaningful life, not how much we avoided pain, but how much we contributed love, not how much we protected ourselves, but how much we protected others, not how much we consumed, but how much we gave. And this is the quiet truth. A life built on comfort eventually feels empty. A life built on fulfillment eventually feels whole. Choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort is choosing to live with intention, to live with courage, to live with purpose. It is choosing to become someone who leaves the world better than they found it. And in that choice, we discover not just success, but significance. Every human being stands at a crossroads every single day. One road is easy, it feels safe, it feels comfortable. The other road is uncertain, it demands effort, it demands patience, it demands courage. And yet, that second road is the one that leads to a meaningful life. Comfort gives us pleasure for a moment. Fulfillment gives us purpose for a lifetime. The tragedy is that we often confuse the two. We chase what feels good now and wonder later why life feels empty. Today we are going to talk about the choice that defines who you become, choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term comfort.